You're about to see exactly what happens when a human body falls into a hornet swarm, and it is so much worse than you're imagining right now. Most people picture a few painful stings, some swelling, maybe an allergic reaction. Run away, jump in a lake, you're fine. That's the story we all grew up with. But that story is dangerously wrong. I've gone deep into the biology, the venom chemistry, and the documented medical cases to piece together exactly what your body goes through. Here's what we're covering: how the swarm activates before you even land, what the venom physically does inside your body, and the silent killer that can hit you days after you think you've survived. Stick with me because the ending of this story is not what anyone expects. Let's start with something most people get completely wrong. You don't have to touch them to start the attack. The moment your body starts falling toward a hornet nest, the swarm is already reading you as a threat. Hornets don't wait for contact. They respond to vibration and to dark, fuzzy movement, because the creatures that raid their nests in the wild are bears and honey badgers, dark-colored animals, big, falling shapes. That's the exact threat their defense system evolved to destroy. So if you're wearing a dark shirt, you've already told the swarm you're a predator. Before your feet hit the ground, you've been classified as the enemy. That's wild. But here's where it gets worse. The moment the swarm engages, it doesn't spread out randomly. It concentrates. Specifically, it concentrates on your head and your face. Hornets and bees instinctively target the dark, fuzzy center of a moving threat, and that's your scalp, your hair, your eyes. The first wave hits your face hardest, and that's by design. Evolution built them to disable the threat at the source. Now, most people assume getting stung on the face is painful but survivable, and sure, one sting is. But here's something that changes the whole picture. Some species don't even need to sting you to damage your eyes. The Asian giant hornet can spray its venom, and this isn't a theoretical risk. There's a documented case of a 77-year-old man who was never stung, not once, but had his eye sprayed with venom from an Asian giant hornet. The venom permeated directly into his eye tissue. He developed corneal damage, iris atrophy, and a mature cataract. His final vision: hand movement only. He could barely tell if a hand was waving in front of his face. All of this from a spray, no sting required. And here's the part that makes this a feedback loop instead of a one-time event. That sprayed venom isn't just toxic, it's also an alarm pheromone. It chemically marks your face as the target. Every hornet nearby smells that signal and locks onto you. So the first attack doesn't just hurt you, it paints a bullseye on your face that the entire swarm can smell. Which brings us to the part that separates hornets from everything else. With bees, there's a ceiling. A bee stings you once and dies. Its stinger is barbed, it gets stuck. The bee tears itself apart, pulling away. There's a biological limit to how much damage a single bee can do. Hornets don't have that limit. Their stingers are smooth, no barbs. They sting you, pull out, and sting you again and again. The same hornet can stab you 5, 6, 10 times, and their stingers are rigid enough to punch through thin fabric. One layer of clothing is not protection. It's barely a suggestion. So you've got a swarm that's already locked onto you, that gets more aggressive with every sting, that can sting you unlimited times, and that can reach you through your clothes. Now you might be thinking, okay, I'll just jump in the water. Classic escape move, right? It doesn't work. Hornets will hover over the surface and wait. Documented cases of attacks show swarms hovering over water for hours. You cannot hold your breath long enough to outlast them. Every time you surface for air, you get hit again. The water doesn't reset the situation, it just traps you in it. So let's say the swarm connects. You take dozens of stings, maybe hundreds. Most people think the danger is the pain and maybe anaphylaxis if you're allergic. But even if you're not allergic at all, the venom is doing something at a cellular level that most people have never heard of. The enzymes in hornet venom, phospholipase and mastoperin, break down cell membranes. Your cells don't just get damaged, they dissolve. And when that happens at scale, across hundreds of sting sites, your own muscle tissue starts to break down and release its contents directly into your bloodstream. This is called rhabdomyolysis, and it is exactly as bad as it sounds. Your muscles are liquefying. The proteins and electrolytes that are supposed to stay inside your cells are now flooding your circulation. That's important. But what happens next is what actually kills people. Your kidneys are your blood's filter, and now they're trying to filter something they were never built to handle: a flood of myoglobin, the protein that gives muscle tissue its color. In a case series of 65 mass-envenomation patients, around 3/5 developed acute kidney injury. Half of them required hemodialysis, a machine doing the job their kidneys could no longer do. The kidneys clog, they shut down. Not because of the stings directly, but because of what the venom turned your muscles into. And while all of this is happening internally, the external damage is just as disturbing. Hornet venom is necrotic. The tissue around the sting sites doesn't just swell and bruise, it turns black and dies. Days after the attack, you can develop deep, crater-like wounds, almost like chemical burns, where the venom was injected. The living tissue around each sting point is killed off by the cytotoxic compounds in the venom. These aren't regular wounds. They look like something punched holes in you from the inside. If you're still with me, I need you to hear this last part, because this is the one that genuinely floored me. You can survive the swarm, make it to the hospital, get treated, appear stable, and still not be safe. Hornet venom can trigger something called Kunis syndrome. It's an acute coronary event, a heart attack, caused either by the venom acting directly on the blood vessels of your heart or by the massive inflammatory response your body launched to fight the venom in the first place. The venom affects the coronary endothelium, the lining of the arteries feeding your heart. Hours after you think the crisis is over, a cardiac event can hit. You survived the swarm, you made it to a bed, and then your heart gives out. That is the thing that gets me most about this whole scenario. The swarm isn't even the last threat. Your own body's response to the swarm becomes the threat. So let's pull this all together. You fall into a hornet swarm. Before you land, they read you as a predator based on your color and movement. They concentrate on your face and eyes. They spray venom that can blind you without a single sting, and that spray chemically marks you for the rest of the swarm. Each sting recruits more stings in a runaway feedback loop. Their smooth stingers let them hit you unlimited times through your clothes. Water won't save you. They'll wait. The venom dissolves your muscle tissue into your blood. Your kidneys choke on the flood of proteins and shut down. The tissue around the stings turns black and dies. And if you make it through all of that, a heart attack can still find you hours later in a hospital bed. This started as a what-if question and turned into one of the most genuinely terrifying biological chains I've ever researched. Every single step is worse than the one before it, and every single step is documented. Real patients, real outcomes. If this broke your brain a little bit, good. Drop a comment below with the fact that shocked you most. I'm genuinely curious whether it's the spray that blinds without a sting or the heart attack that hits after you think you're safe. And if you want to keep going down this what-if rabbit hole, be sure to check out our video on what happens if we killed all cockroaches. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because we've got more of these lined up and they only get more intense from here. Reality, as it turns out, is so much stranger and scarier than the cartoon version, and now you know exactly why.